The Woodland Mansion is one of the rarest structures to find inside of Minecraft, and today's seed has not one, not two, but 3 separate woodland mansions, all within about 1,000 blocks from where you spawn in. And speaking of spawn, this is where I actually spawn in inside of a beautiful looking flower forest right here, which actually sprawls on for quite a decent distance in that direction, along with some plains and some forests around the area. But of course, if you're looking for woodland mansions, then I'd recommend heading in this direction first to find your first one. Because again, that little area over there was spawn, and by heading just a couple hundred blocks in this direction, the first woodland mansion already hoves into view. And of course, it's always interesting when you find woodland mansions, but in this particular case, it's especially interesting now that the fact that you can find a laze inside this one structure. And as we can see, this mansion is not only filled up with vindicators and evokers and things like that, but it's also filled up with tons and tons of these friendly little folks around the place. As well as, big shocker, a pretty decent sized lush cave underneath it too. And I kind of skimmed over this, but on the way to this one mansion, you actually find yourself a ruined portal right here. And this one in question actually houses an enchanted golden apple inside, which is a pretty rare phenomenon. And speaking of rare phenomenons, let's see what type of a rare phenomenon type of generation we get inside this one nether spawn. And the answer seems to be not the best nether spawn in the world, but I can at least say that you're pretty protected and safe inside of here. But enough of the nether, let's see where the second woodland mansion is at. Well, to get to it, you're going to want to head in this direction right here, and on the way you'll be passing this tiny little island that's surrounded by some rivers, which also houses lots and lots of biomes, especially for a small little area. You have a forest, a birch forest, and a savanna plateau right here, which, you know, is pretty cool, at least in my opinion. But something that's even cooler is the fact that we have more woodland mansions to check out, and this next one is actually not too incredibly far from this one jungle we see right here, because as we can see, the second woodland mansion is hoving into view just over there. And because this one is slightly generated into a hill, that means that you get a slightly taller woodland mansion than usual. And just to make sure, do we have a lush cave underneath here? And the answer seems to be yes. So I think something to do with lush caves actually gives mansions a slightly higher chance of actually spawning in. I don't know, that's just my opinion, what I've seen in the many seeds I've checked out. And I just noticed this, but there's some lava that generated in, which might eventually catch fire to this one mansion. So in the case that you are interested in checking out this one woodland mansion, you might want to be a little bit quicker or a little bit safer than normal. And the third and final woodland mansion is easily the furthest away, so if you're going from this one woodland mansion to the third one, I'd recommend heading in this direction right here. And you'll be going through quite a lot of forests, such as birch forests, and normal forests, and mountain forests? I don't know if I could call that a forest, but you know what, we can roll with it. But yeah, just head in this direction, past this one mountain, and across this one ocean, which also connects over to a village right here, which just so happens to have a ruined portal just beneath it. Oh, and a surface ruin right here too. Can't say I see these two structures coincide with each other too often, but it is pretty cool when it does. And also, I will say there is quite a number of steep elevations you're going to have to climb to get to this third woodland mansion, which, you know, isn't too incredibly hard, especially considering how hilly the 1.18 generation is, but it is still something to keep in mind. But all of that will eventually pay off, because just heading over at these corners just over here, you will eventually find yourself the third woodland mansion on this one seed. And yeah, the other ones are about 1,000 blocks from spawn or so, but this one is roughly about 500 blocks more than that, which, you know, at least considering the fact that there's three woodland mansions not too incredibly far, that's not too much worse than the other ones, or some other seeds with woodland mansions inside of them. But yeah, if you're looking for a seed with tons and tons of allays inside them, and tons of totems, and tons of different types of loot inside of them, then this seed probably has you covered in almost every single elements of that, as well as some pretty decent underground exploration, because not too incredibly far from this woodland mansion, you actually get this incredibly big opening to an incredibly huge cave right here, which actually has quite a decent drop, because right now we are at Y105, and if we fall all the way down to the bottom, we can see that we eventually end up at -8, so yeah, quite a decent drop, but thankfully there is a little bit of water for the survival players that want to get inside of here. But if having a woodland mansion, pretty easy cave access wasn't enough, then I'd recommend heading over to these corners right here and dig yourself pretty deep down below, because you'll eventually find yourself an ancient city, which just so happens to spawn right here. So in case 3 incredibly large structures on the surface wasn't enough, then you also have this incredibly large structure deep below the surface too. And in case you're wondering, yes, I did check it out in the preview, and that ancient city still does generate there. Now, is it just me, or am I seeing double right here? I'm pretty sure it's just me seeing double, because I'm sure everyone else could see 3 separate woodland mansions, one of the rarest structures in the game, all within about 1,000 to 1,500 blocks from spawn. So let me know what you think of these seeds down below, but for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.